Hello, my name is Emma. I am an English teacher. Many English language learners have the same problem. They want to improve their English, but they feel like they are staying at the same level. So here's a graph of what I mean. This is English. This is time or years. What happens to many English language learners is they feel like they improve a lot, and then unfortunately they feel like they start to stay the same or plateau. Today, I am going to teach you 5 strategies to help you continue to improve. So what I want to see is going back up and improving in your English. So let's learn these 5 easy tips on how you can improve when you feel like you've stopped improving. So my first tip is very important. If your language learning is stuck and you're not improving, I would recommend to look at your methods. How are you learning right now? A lot of the times you can increase your learning and improve by changing your methods. So the first thing you can do is maybe try new materials. Maybe there are some new podcasts you can listen to. Maybe some new internet websites to check out. Maybe some new shows that you might really like watching in English. What I have actually found the most helpful for myself, I'm learning Mandarin right now. I found that I've really started to improve by using AI. So with AI, you can do a lot of things now that you couldn't do when learning a language before. I really recommend AI. I'm somebody who is, in general, afraid of technology or not great with technology. So it took some time to get used to using AI, but I found it has really helped my language skills. What I do with it is I create interesting stories with new vocabulary. So if I learn some new words, I ask AI to create a story with those new words I've learned. That way I can see these words again and again in different interesting stories. Sometimes I ask it questions about grammar. So this is great. You can, if you have a question about English grammar, like, oh, do I use the or in this sentence? Is this an uncountable or countable noun? What's the difference? You can use AI to answer these questions, and you can ask them to answer them in your language if you want, so you can understand it better. You can also ask AI to test your English. So you can say, hey, give me 5 questions for beginners, or give me 10 questions on the present perfect. And AI can create these questions, and then you can answer in the AI, and it can actually tell you if you're correct or incorrect. So you get feedback, which is really good. And the beautiful thing about AI is English teachers are going to kill me for saying this. But it's almost like AI can be your personal English teacher, where you can actually ask questions 24/7. So AI has really helped me improve my language learning. So if you're not using it, that might be one way to improve. It's not the only way, though. There's a lot of other ways. One issue a lot of students have is they learn too passively. So what do I mean by this? Well, they might watch a TV show, read some subtitles. They might just read some books, but they're doing everything passively. They're not really thinking about what they're learning. In order to remember new information, you really have to work. Your brain has to work hard. And so trying to do more active learning. So for example, writing down information, creating your own sentences with the grammar or the vocabulary, speaking in different situations, or even testing yourself when you learn something new, it's so important to keep testing yourself. Using an active learning model can really help you improve when learning a language. And I'll give you an example. I knew one student that would use National Geographic, where every day he would just read National Geographic. He didn't improve that much with this strategy. And the reason is because it was too passive. But if he tested himself on new words, if he actually used those words in a sentence, that's more active, and that's a better way to learn. So again, try new materials, try new approaches, especially more active learning. The next tip is very important. My tip is build consistency. What do I mean by this? Well, one reason why people plateau is because they don't have time to study the language. They might study infrequently when they have time, but they don't study consistently. So, life is busy. It's very hard to find time to learn a language, especially as you get older. So here are my tips for this. And I should say, every tip I give you today, I use myself, and I have found it very helpful. So these are my own personal tips. When you're learning a language, it's better to study every day, even if it's for a little time during the day. 15 minutes every day is better than 2 hours every 2 weeks. The more you do and the more frequent, the better. So small amounts daily can be better than infrequent long study sessions. So you might think, okay, 15 minutes a day, that's easy. But for many people, we get so busy, we don't make the 15 minutes. So my advice is you should pair learning English with another daily activity. So for example, for me with Chinese, every time I take the bus, I study Chinese. To get to work, I take a bus. It's about a 30-minute bus ride. So for those 30 minutes, I study Chinese every day. At first, it was difficult, but now it's automatic. As soon as I go on the bus, my brain starts to think in Chinese. So the bus is one example. If you drive to work, if you take a bus or a subway, you can learn a language during your commute. So that's one possibility. For other people, I had one student that loved to practice English when he showered. So he would talk to himself. He would test himself. So he would think of all the new English words he had learned. And while he was showering, he would think about the new English words or new English grammar. So if every day when you shower, you think in English, that's another possibility. Some people will focus on English at breakfast. So every time when they're eating breakfast, they'll think in English, they'll test themselves in English. They might have an English book and study. The point is that if there's something you do every day, try to pair English with it. You will become more successful at finding the time to learn English this way. One thing I do want to say is be careful if you study at night. For some people, they are awake, alert, and the night is the perfect time to study. For other people like me, by the end of the day, I'm so tired. I can't study at night. I start to get sleepy, my brain doesn't work as well, and everything is harder and takes longer. So if you're somebody who likes to go to bed early and gets tired, you might want to start studying English early in the day. For other people, if this is not a problem, you can study English before bed. It depends on you and your personality. So building daily consistency is really important to continue to improve in English. The next tip I have for you to help you improve is it's really important to set goals. It's important to set English language learning goals. Your goals should be realistic, so they're possible to achieve. Small goals are often better. You're more likely to achieve a small goal than a big goal. Big goals can also be scary and demotivate you. You want to have a time associated with your goal. Are you going to do something every day, every week, every month? Are you going to do something for 15 minutes? So it's important to have a time associated with a goal. You want the goal to be very specific, and you want to be able to measure if you're successful or not. Were you able to reach the goal? So I have here my old goal. I used to like to write the goal, I will learn 10 new words every day in a new language. Now the problem with this goal is I never could achieve it. It was not realistic. The other problem was that every day I would learn 10 new words, and then I would forget the 10 old words I had just learned. Because to learn a language, you need to do a lot of repeating and reviewing. So now, I should mention, research shows you actually need to encounter a new word 5 to 16 times in meaningful context to remember it. It's important to test yourself with new words. So one situation many learners get into is they will write down new words, they'll look at it, study it one day, and then not study it again. And then they forget those words. And it's a lot of work, but you don't end up achieving your goal. So a better idea is to have less words you're learning every day. So remember I said smaller goals can be better. If you tried to learn 3 new words every day, that's a good goal. And if you practice these 3 words every day over a 4-day period or over the week, every day you practice the same 3 words, that could really help improve your language and you could remember the new words a lot easier. So when you're learning a language, setting realistic, small goals is important. Especially because when you feel like you're stuck, if you have little goals, at least then you start to realize, you know what? I am improving a little bit. Last week, I didn't know this word. This week, I do. So by having small goals, you can actually see that you are improving. Here's another example of a goal. Maybe every Sunday, you could write a couple of sentences or an English paragraph. Do this every Sunday or a different day. And then to know if what you're writing is correct, you can ask AI to review it and just say, are there any mistakes in this writing? This is a great goal because it's active learning. You can change the goal, of course, but it's a good example of a goal because you have the time every Sunday. You have a concrete, specific goal. You're going to write 1 paragraph, and it's achievable. My next piece of advice, if you want to continue to improve, is it's important to get feedback. You want someone to tell you what mistakes you're making and how to fix them. So how can you get feedback? Well, I would say it depends on you personally and what you prefer. Some people do this by joining a language class. You can get a lot of feedback from your teacher in a language class. Other people like to get a personal tutor. There's a lot of online websites where you can find an English teacher and you pay them some money and they can tell you what your mistakes are. So that's another possibility. Some people create a peer learning group. So they find other people who are also learning the same language and they work together and they give each other permission. Hey, if I make a mistake in English, please correct me. Please tell me I've made a mistake. And so people can help each other learn together in a peer learning group. For people who are shy or who don't like to be told they're making mistakes, AI is also a great way to get feedback. You can write a sentence, or you can ask if something's a mistake, and AI can tell you if it is or if it's not, and it can also tell you how to fix your mistakes. So I think that there's actually a lot people can do with modern technology like AI to get feedback. And the nice thing about AI is you can get the feedback immediately. One of the issues with if you have a teacher is you might not get the feedback right away. Although this is also very good. It's good to have a teacher because they can also teach you some new things that you might not otherwise have known. But the nice thing about AI is you can get feedback immediately. So any of these ways are great ways to increase the amount of feedback you're getting, which will help you to continue to improve. So my final tip, it's making sure that you review, reflect, and stay motivated. These 3 tips will help you to continue to improve your English. So let's talk about them. So when I talk about review, what I mean review and reflect is I mean you need to think about yourself. You need to think, what are the areas of English you're struggling with? Now, a lot of students will say all of them, but that's not helpful. So what are the most important areas you need to improve? For some people, it might be writing emails because they have to write emails in English for their jobs. For other people, it might be that they feel so shy when they speak English. Maybe they can understand what they read, but they can't talk. So think about yourself. Is it grammar? Is it the present perfect tense? Is it listening? Is it fluency? Think about what are your areas that you really want to improve on. It's important to also review past work you've done. A lot of the times people think they're not improving, but they are improving. They're just not aware. They might be improving slowly, but they might be showing improvement. So sometimes when you actually save the work you do, if you write a sentence, if you do an English test, if you make an English presentation, and then you look at that work a year later, you might actually see a lot of improvement. So sometimes saving old work can help you to understand if you're actually improving or not. If you look at old work and you realize it's like you were better in the past, that's something to notice too. So hopefully when you look at your old work, you'll see that you've improved. So track your progress. Remind yourself why you're learning English. It's easy to become demotivated, especially because learning English, it's a lifelong journey. It does take time. I'm still improving, learning new words in English. The language continues to get bigger and grow. So there's always ways to improve. And because of that, a lot of students, when they hit, they've been studying for years, they start to feel demotivated. So it's important to think about, why are you learning English in the first place? Is it because of work? Is it because of personal growth? Is it because maybe you've fallen in love with somebody from England and you want to be able to talk to them better? Think about why you're learning the language and keep that in mind, because by knowing why we're doing something, it can really help us in our journey. Celebrate your small achievements. I remember when I was learning Mandarin and learning how to write and read, when I would go to a Chinese restaurant and read parts of the menu, I would get so excited because I could finally understand something. So those moments where you understand something new, or you've done something like your first English email, or maybe you've answered a phone call in English, whatever it is, celebrate those moments. By really celebrating, it gives you energy, and that's what you really want when learning a language. And finally, stay motivated. Again, it takes time to learn a language. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of work. but it is very meaningful to learn a language, and it can really improve your life. So keep working at it. Take the tips that we've talked about today to keep moving steady, and improving. It's very important what you're doing, and I'm so proud of you. I think it's incredible that you're learning English. I know it's a hard language, but there's so many great things that can happen when you're able to speak English. So thank you so much for watching today. You can also look at some of my other videos on different topics if you're interested in grammar, if you're interested in, you've figured out what your weak points are and you're trying to maybe study articles or, the past tense or whatever it might be. So check out my YouTube channel for more language learning resources. And again, thank you so much for watching.